It's funny looking back because I first saw you, I don't even know how many years ago. You're talking about your dividend stock portfolio and crypto. You're talking about crypto on YouTube a long time ago. I mean, 5 years ago, I think we had you on the show and we were talking about Bitcoin when it was at like $20,000, which we all still thought we'd missed the train.
Right.
Do you think that we've missed the train on Bitcoin still?
No, not at all. Wasn't I like the second guest on your podcast?
You were one of the very first guests we've ever had.
I remember that. You gave me the Pokemon cards.
Yep.
I got the psychic energy. I remember that. Now we're back.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's crazy. I do remember that 20,000 was the peak of that cycle in 2017, was it?
Yep.
Yeah. No,
And then we did again in 2020.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, and it's crazy to see it at over 100 now. What do you guys think? You think we've peaked?
Michael Saylor would disagree. He would say that we're just getting started here. I tend to agree. Also, you know, we just had Robert Kiyosaki on the podcast, and that did instill a little bit of fear when he's like, fake money, holding up like the dollar bill. It kind of does make sense.
He's a huge fan of Bitcoin, right?
He loves Bitcoin. He loves gold. He loves silver. He loves assets when you can't just print more of them.
Right. And what's
dollars
interesting,
you can.
We were talking about Bitcoin, and I said, are you still buying Bitcoin? And he said, no. And I said, well, give us a price target. How is it at 100,000? And he goes like this, I kid you not, implying that retail investors are being dragged along.
Oh.
He likes instead, he said, silver, gold, and Ethereum. And he's not buying Bitcoin at $100,000 levels.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I thought he would continue to be buying Bitcoin, given his stance on the dollar.
Yeah, from what I've seen, silver and platinum and gold outperformed Bitcoin this year for sure. Maybe he's right. I don't know. I think Bitcoin is a long way to go. I think I've always looked at Bitcoin's final price to be inflation divided by 21 million. And what's inflation? That's infinity, right? Like infinity divided by 21 million is infinity essentially. And it seems to be the fastest horse in the race. So I think it'll continue to go up. It might dip below $100,000 though. I wouldn't be surprised.
Are you still buying Bitcoin right now?
Yeah, actually, the last time I bought it was a couple weeks ago. I bought it at like 115,000. I just bought the IBIT ETF. I know that you've been buying it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've just bought the IBIT. But most of my Bitcoin is in the commodity itself, the coin. I self-custody.
So you do the cold storage.
Yeah.
If you're going to do cold storage on Bitcoin, what's the best way of doing it?
There's just so many devices to do it. Get yourself a like a ledger or whatever else is not sponsored. You can get so many hardware devices. And then look into something called a 25th passphrase. It's sort of a plausible deniability wallet that allows you to create sort of a duplicate of your wallet. So if somebody like attacks you, you can be like, okay, here's my seed phrase. But you have a secret wallet that's just one more word on top of that where your actual money is stored. It's called a plausible deniability wallet. It's actually really cool.
That's interesting. So, for example, when those people like went over to Amaranth's house and they were trying to like attack her and get her Bitcoin away from her, she could have just said, oh, I have this code. And then it like looks like it's hers, but in actuality, that's just like a fake code.
Correct. You could do that. I mean, at that point, like people always say like the $5 wrench attack, like at that point, there's no amount of like cybersecurity. You can be like, oh, here's, I mean, that was an unfortunate thing that happened with her.
So when did you first buy Bitcoin?
When did I first buy Bitcoin? I want to say 2014, when it was $600 a coin.
How much Bitcoin did you buy and why did you buy it?
I bought like 6 of them. And I bought it because I was reading, it was like this magic internet money. And I remember reading about it when I was like at $100, but there was no way of buying it unless you were super computer savvy. And then that's when, what exchange was it? The
Mt. Gox.
Mt. Gox, yeah. And I was like, okay, I don't understand any of that stuff. But I remember buying it. I think it was on Coinbase. I bought 6 of them. And then I just held on to it for a year, totally forgot about it. And then I checked a year later in like, I don't know, 2015. And it dropped to $300 a coin. So I sold all 6 of them to buy myself a DJI drone, which is like the 1080p DJI, whatever it was at the time. And I eventually crashed that drone. But yeah, I sold it basically all of it.
So that drone was about $750,000.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an expensive like learning mistake, but I feel like everyone has that story in Bitcoin.
I mean, I told Graham to buy Dogecoin when it was less than half a
cent. Oh, he showed me this the other day. We could go back on the podcast. So Jack told me to buy Dogecoin when it was a fraction of a penny. He told me to invest $1,000 into it in one of our first ever podcasts, and I did. I didn't understand it. I thought it was dumb. And so I had 217,000 Dogecoin for $1,000.
Wow.
And I looked at it, and then the next day I sold it for a loss.
He sold it the next day. Paper hands. He has paper hands. He
I
can't
thought it
hold on
was
to
so
anything.
stupid.
What was it worth at the peak?
It would have been worth
125,
I think it was like
150.
That's not as bad as me, but
It would have been worth about $150,000.
But
from a $1,000 investment, which meant, and I told Jack this, I would have made more money from that single Dogecoin investment than I would have from the podcast at the time.
That's crazy.
So I put $100 in Dogecoin when it was about 0.4 cents.
Okay.
And then I held on, I diamond hands for a very, very long time up until the night of the SNL thing when Elon was supposed
literally
to go in there
the
and talk
top.
about. Yeah.
Yes.
And so I cashed out and then bought this exact Rolex with it. So we call this the Dogelicks.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But I remember pleading with you. I was like, dude, look into Bitcoin. You got to get some. And you're like, I don't know. Do you remember how opposed to Bitcoin you were?
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
Late 2016 or early 2017 is when I made my first video about Bitcoin. And that was Bitcoin just hit $1,000. That's when I made my first video. You could go back on my channel and see
Do you ever
it.
read the comments? They're like, oh, this aged like milk.
All the time. No, in the video, the thing is,
aged like milk.
dude, I wasn't for or against it. It was just, I was neutral about it. And at the time, there was no real use case. It was just people speculating on it. Like, it did not evolve back then to where it is today.
Right.
It just is what it was a gambling mechanism back then. Now, people could have a vision for it, but back then it didn't have the utility or anything that it does
What
today.
changed your mind?
It hit 20,000. It hit 17,000 actually. And I bought one Bitcoin for fun, just to see what it was about because everyone was talking about Bitcoin. And I bought it. And then I started getting involved in all like the communities and reading through on Reddit and Twitter and crypto YouTube at the time in 2017. And I had fun with it. But back then I started like just day trading it. So I would like buy it at 17. I would sell it for like 17.2. I'd buy back in at 16.9. I just did that.
Right.
And I made like $500. And then I put all of that into a project called, at the time, Ryblocks.
Huh.
And that turned into 50 or 60 grand. And I didn't cash out and I lost all of it.
Wow. Okay, so we all make mistakes. Yeah. That's good.
But that's what turned me on to Bitcoin.
Right.
And then I thought at that point, okay, there's no harm in just like investing 1% of my portfolio in Bitcoin.
Do you think that Bitcoin's price is manipulated right now?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably just because you see these insane swings. Like all of a sudden I'll check the price at midnight and it drops from like 115 to 109 instantly. Somebody's selling. Who is that? How is that manipulated? And then all of a sudden it'll jump right back up to like 112.
There's this concept called rehypothecation. Have you guys heard of it?
No.
It's a mechanism to suppress Bitcoin's price, and it's probably happening on it. It's where a lender can essentially take the loan they give you and your collateral, and then they can use your collateral. Like, for example, if you're like, Andrei, I want to borrow $100. I'm like, okay, here's $100. Okay, but in return, I'm going to have a claim over your house. Whatever, right? That's the collateral.
Mm-hmm.
And then with that collateral, that IOU, I go to another bank and I'm like, hey, I got this dude's house. That's my collateral. I'm going to borrow money against it. And then that lender goes and borrows against that. And then before you know it, it cascades, and now several people and several entities have a claim on the same asset. But now substitute house with Bitcoin. And now you can have 5 people essentially having a claim over the same coin. And I think that's happening with the ETFs to some degree or another. I don't think we'll know about it until later. But one way to solve that is to self-custody. And that's why I think self-custody is so important, because then you solve that. That's why I think like there could be a very violent price movement up.